As a student, I hated paper planners, to-do lists, and calendars because they were clunky, time-consuming, and didn't make my life easier. That's why I created Shovel, and in this video, I will show you exactly how it works and why it's unlike anything you've tried before. Quick background. When I was in college, I wanted to have fun, but I had over 300 tasks each semester and a demanding schedule as a D1 hockey player. I was constantly overwhelmed, and when I asked for help, I was told to use paper planners, random to-do lists, and generic calendars. I hated all of them because I felt like none of them were built for me, the student. Paper planners took too long to manage. Was I really going to create a new schedule every week and write in 300 tasks by hand? Fat chance. Various to-do lists became wish lists because they were disconnected from my schedule. And calendars didn't let me plan, replan, and track progress on my tasks as easy as this. I wanted to have one tool that would help me control the chaos. That's why I created Shovel, and in this video, I will break down all of its components so you can decide for yourself if it's the right tool for you. And here's the thing, Shovel wasn't just born in my head and built to my exact specifications. We've made thousands of adjustments and iterations based on student feedback to create a tool that truly works. We've also drawn from expert time management and executive functioning principles to make sure that we're following the science. We baked in features that are very student specific, and I'm confident that Shovel will help you improve your time management, organizing, prioritizing, planning, focusing, self-starting, decision-making, and even metacognition. All of those known as executive functions. Now, I've done quite a few demos for executive function coaches as well, and they're blown away by the level of detail we've put into Shovel. We've made thousands of decisions to set Shovel apart so that it's unlike anything you've ever seen, including our unique cushion technology to help you get everything done and keep you stress-free all semester long. It's the kind of feature you will not find anywhere else, and it's a game changer. With Shovel, you will not have to jerry-rig a bunch of different tools to make them work for you. It has everything you need and nothing that you don't. It's transforming lives of students who struggle with executive functioning, but also provides unmatched power to those who are already on top of everything, but want to save time and max out their study life. My goal for you is simple: better grades, less stress, and more fun. Okay, here's the demo. It's live. I talk slowly, so please feel free to speed it up. Okay, a few things before you start setting up Shovel. First, you'll need to gather some information to make creating your semester inside Shovel easy. So first, Google your school's academic calendar so you know what are some of the major dates. Next, have your syllabi ready. So if you know what classes you're taking, have your syllabi at hand. And next, if your professors are using Canvas, Brightspace, Moodle, or Google Classroom, know how to access those as well. And I also want you to keep in mind that you don't have to do everything at Shovel all at once, because it will help you build habits over time. So if at first you're only comfortable with creating your schedule, that's totally okay. Then when you're ready to start creating tasks, you can start creating those. And then when you're ready to start planning your tasks, you can start planning. And then maybe you will want to start estimating your tasks as well so that your planning is much more accurate. The key is that when you're ready for the next step in your executive functioning and productivity, you don't need to introduce another tool and have things scattered in different places. You can build your habits on top of each other inside Shovel. Okay, let's begin. First, you'll go through a few onboarding steps to make creating your schedule and your tasks easier down the road. So first, enter your school's time zone to make sure that your tasks are due at the right time. Next, there's some end of term dates. So open that academic schedule as I told you about. You can Google this and put in when do your classes end. And then typically you'll have an exam period. So enter when is the end of your exam period. That way we can stop repeating your classes inside your schedule at the end of classes. And then you'll have an exam period where classes don't meet and you have more study time because you will be taking exams soon. Next will be your holidays, and these are optional, and you can also find those in your academic calendar. And the cool thing about holidays is that when you enter a holiday here, we will not show classes during those days. And you also have an option to select if you will study during this holiday or not. And this ties back to one of Shovel's main functionalities, which is that it's a time calculator in the background. So it's calculating how much available study time you actually have. And if you don't plan to study during this holiday, leave this unchecked so you don't think that you'll have more study time to do. Again, this is optional. You can adjust it later on inside the app. Next is awake time, and that again taps into Shovel's time calculation. So we want to know how much study time you have every single day. And that starts with your awake time. You can't study when you're asleep. So your awake time is how much available study time you're starting with. And then once you start creating your events, you're taking away study time out of your schedule. And you can set it here as your default. So what's your default wake up time and bedtime? And then you can adjust it for each individual day and day rotation inside Shovel as well. Next, you'll be adding your courses, and you have a few choices here. So if your professors are using Canvas, Brightspace, Moodle, or Google Classroom, you can sync with those. And if your professors have created tasks and events there, we will be able to sync with them in real time. And if they're not using those, no problem at all. You can add your courses manually, Econ, for example, and you can change the color to whatever you'd like. Now let me just go back quickly and show you what it looks like if you are syncing from one of those platforms. So done save, next, Brightspace, and here we give you instructions on where to find these links. Here's a Brightspace link, which for those of you who don't know, that's just a school platform. And here I see what classes I'm taking, and I want to do these fall ones, maybe not this one. And now I can connect to those classes, maybe change the names. I don't know what this is. Geology. I'll leave these the same, and click next. And now I was able to sync. Next will be your activities. So you'll start with some default activities like a morning routine, lunch, workout, napping, dinner. Also me time, that one's super important, so that you plan your social time and maybe your bedtime routine, and you can add any other thing that you do on a weekly basis so that it's easy for you to create your schedule. And okay, I actually don't like the random colors that Shovel selected, so I'm gonna adjust those a little bit and maybe rename my courses as well, so I'll do that quickly. Now let's get familiar with some of the main parts of the app. So on the left side, you'll see the courses that you selected in the onboarding steps and the activities, and you can always add new ones here. And in the right sidebar, we call it the plan sidebar, you can see your tasks. And because I already synced with the learning management system, I'm able to see my tasks here. But if you didn't link anything, no problem at all. We'll be creating tasks manually as well. And in the middle here, you have your calendar, which I'll get into just in a second. And at the top, you can also see your task list. So all of these tasks are already pulled in. Okay, so now let's talk about step number 1, which is uncovering your available study time. And that starts by creating your schedule. And creating your schedule inside Shovel is super fast and easy because on the left sidebar, you already have the categories of the things that you do on a weekly basis. And then you can just drag and drop them into your schedule, select repeat, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Bam, that's my first class, my second class, weekly, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, maybe it's a little later. event. So the most important part when you're creating your schedule is to start with what I call the anchors. So the things that you cannot move, your class times, your practice times, maybe your club meetings. So things that you have no control over. And then you can go into some of the other things. For example, we have them under activities, but your meals, right? So when can you actually have lunch? So after you know your class schedule and everything else, you can start putting in when you can eat, and then when you can nap, when is your bedtime routine, whatever it is. And the most important one to me, at least, is called me time. So when is all of the time that I know I will not be studying, like I don't want to dedicate that time towards studying, and we call that me time. And to me, that was super important. And those for me would be, Friday nights, Saturday mornings, Saturday nights, things like that. So I want to block them out so that I know it's not the time that I want to use for studying. And now you can start to notice that there are some numbers in between my events. And this is basically your available study time. And Shovel starts to calculate it in the background for every single day for the entire semester. And you also should tweak it a little bit, right? So maybe you don't have an hour and 15 minutes to study between your geology and geodynamics class. I don't even know if those are real classes, but maybe you are walking from geology to get to geodynamics and you plan to study before class, but you might have a short walk, you may talk to friends, so now you don't have an hour and 15 minutes, now you have 55 minutes. So it's time to start fine-tuning your schedule to truly reflect what you're doing. And if you're wondering what these numbers and these flags are, those are just your deadlines. We call them deadline flags, and it just indicates that here at this time, probably at the beginning of class, all of these tasks are due, and these tasks are being pulled from the task list, which is also shown here. And currently we are pulling those tasks from the Brightspace, the school platform that we have already connected. So you can see when those tasks are due, and you can also see all of them here for the whole day. Okay, awesome. So now that you know how quick it is to create your schedule inside Shovel, I'm going to switch to a different account to show you what things may look like once your schedule is filled in. So now you can start to see what your actual schedule may look like in Shovel. Let me just zoom out here and point some of the things out. So I put in my morning routine, that I have some commute time, and then I have my lectures, and I can put in the location for the lecture, and some of the class events are sections, so I can put in all of the details that I need. And I also created my me time, and I make sure that I have enough of me time during the week so that I always know and I have something to look forward to during my week. And the next thing to notice are those available study times, right? So we are starting to show you when you can study and for how long. And now let's fine tune it a little bit more. So for example, I'm looking here and there is a lot of 30-minute study blocks, but maybe I'm the type of a student that knows that in 30 minutes, there's just no way I'm getting anything done. So you can go over to this adjust and adjust study time. And here you have a slider, and this slider determines what is your minimum study time block. So for example, if you know you cannot get anything done in 30 minutes or less, you will slide the slider out to, let's say, 35 minutes. And now all of those small 30-minute blocks will be identified as what we call extra time. So they will not count towards your available study time. You can still use it, but you're not including it in the calculation for how much study time you actually have. And this is student dependent, so it's really up to you for what you think is usable time for you. Now really look at each available study time and think to yourself, Is it really realistic that I'm gonna study during this time? And if you think it's not, it's best to put in me time so that you don't think you have more study time than you actually do. And you don't have to think about this too hard because everything is easily adjustable as opposed to some paper planners or things like that. Okay, now that you know your schedule, it's time to figure out your workload. And I'm just gonna quickly switch to the other account where I already imported all of my tasks. Okay, your workload has two components. What is it that you're responsible for and how long will it take? So step one is capturing all of your tasks in one place. This will help with mental clarity because you will not have to keep deadlines in your head or juggle 4 different syllabi in 4 different places. And estimating tasks will help you create a realistic study plan so you don't start too late and fall behind. It will also help you track progress, learn from experience, and make adjustments. And in Shovel, it will also activate the cushion technology so you always know if you can get everything done on time or if you need to change your schedule. So let's dive into this. Here are all of the tasks that I sucked into Shovel from the Connected School platform. Let's start by organizing them. Do a little cleanup first. So I want to see all of my tasks in one list and then group them by week because I have already started the semester and there are some tasks that I have already completed prior to starting with Shovel. I can see all of my overdue tasks in one list here. You can also see them that they have this fire emoji and I can complete all of them all at once. So now I'm only dealing with the tasks that I still have to complete. Next, I want to organize my tasks, and the best way to do that is to deal with each course individually. So I can just select the course in the left sidebar, and now I can deal with all of my geology tasks all at once. And here I want to group them by all again so that I can categorize them easily. And the easiest way to categorize tasks is to look at some of the naming that the professor used. So here I see quiz, 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 and quiz. So I have a bunch of quizzes and I can use the search bar in the top right and just search for the term quiz. And that way I filter out only my quiz tasks and I can select them and now change the task category. I create a new category called quizzes and I can change the emoji to be, I don't know, whatever I want. And now I organized all of my quiz tasks in one category here. And I can exit out of this. Next, I want to look into these quizzes a little bit further to see maybe I need to delete some tasks because they are not relevant. So when I zoom in, I see that the quizzes are due and then they're also available and the availability ends. And when I look into it a little bit further, I see that available ends and due is the same. So I actually don't need the availability ends tasks, and all of my tasks are available, I don't know what it is, maybe 5 days before the quiz is due. And this is also in the syllabus. So I don't need the available tasks and the availability ends tasks. So I can get rid of those. And that way I have my quizzes. I know when they are due and I can manipulate those because those are the main tasks. And to do that quickly, I can just use the search bar again and look for avail, and we have available and availability ends. None of the due tasks are here, so I can select this and delete these tasks as well because they would just clutter my view. Those are not important. And now I have all of my quizzes in one place, neatly categorized. And the next big thing you can do is estimate these tasks. And as I mentioned before, if you don't start estimating how long your tasks will take, you will not be able to create an accurate study plan. And it's okay if you don't know how much time you'll need to dedicate to each quiz to get a good grade. And you can talk to your professor and say, hey, how much time do you expect an average student to spend studying for one of these quizzes to get a good grade? And that's where you can start, or you can just guesstimate. And the beauty of Shovel is that if you get your first quiz back and you didn't get the grade you wanted, you can always select those remaining quizzes and adjust the time that you'll need to study to get the right grade for the future quizzes. So I can select all of my quizzes all at once and estimate, let's say it's a small quiz, so I'll need to dedicate 2 hours of study time to get a good grade. And now my time, we call it still need, because if you start recording progress, we're showing you how much time you actually still need to dedicate to the task. Now, all of my estimates are showing that I'll need to study for 2 hours to get a good grade on each one of these quizzes. And the next column I want to look at is this start ahead. So this is showing how many days before the due date do I want to start working on this task. So here what we want to do is set a realistic start date. And 3 days means 3 days before the deadline. And we do a default to 3 days, and you can always adjust this and even the default. And the rule of thumb is, and each additional hour that I'll need to spend on a task, I want to add an additional day. So since this is 2 hours of study time, maybe I can reduce the start ahead date to 2 days, since that seems more realistic. And if I was creating a big exam that I need to study 20 hours for, I would set the start ahead date to at least 20 days. And the last thing I want to do is set a priority. So since these quizzes will be graded, I want to set a high priority, because my grade will be calculated on how well I do on these quizzes. And that's how you can quickly organize your tasks in Shovel if you had imported them, and then you can go back to the uncategorized tasks and look for another common name. So here maybe this worksheet, so I would filter worksheets and start organizing those. And now let's look at what things look like if you did not connect a school platform and you are starting from scratch. So here I will be adding a new course. Let's call it Economics. Set a nice color. I don't know, maybe one of these greens. And I want to go into the calendar and also create some economics lecture times. Sorry, here. Okay, so now let's create some quizzes in my economics class. I can use this button here or the one at the top, and I can create a quiz, select the category, add a new one, and select when is the first date of my quiz. And here when I zoom in, you can already see when those classes meet. So typically quizzes are due in class, and let's say it's due on Monday, and we immediately select that it's due at 2:40 because that's when the class is. If it's not, you can scroll to 11:59 super easily. We already set the how many days before you want to get started. So maybe here we change it to 2 again, and we estimate it to 2 hours. And then a cool thing here is that if you have a quiz, every single Monday class, you can quickly set repeat task, repeats every week on Monday, ends repeating end of classes. I want to have the task name, the start ahead, and the task estimate to be the same on my future quizzes. And now I can see all of my quiz dates at the same time. And maybe if I look at the syllabus here, you want to go through it with the fine-tooth comb, and maybe you have a midterm during this date, so you don't have a quiz and you can delete that. Now you can create it, and I created 14 quizzes in under, I don't know what it is, a minute. And I can select them again and change the priority to be high. So that's how quick it is to create tasks inside Shovel. And I don't know, maybe you need to go in here and spend a few more minutes numbering the quizzes or something like that, but typically it's pretty quick. And then you can open the task and start managing it from here. So that's how you would create and estimate your tasks, like studying for exams or working on assignments. But in school, there is one big task category that's a bit different. These are your readings. When I was at Harvard, I typically had one or more readings due before each class, so I knew what the hell the professor was talking about. And I created all of the reading task features in Shovel based on my own experience, as I often didn't finish my readings on time because I didn't spend any time analyzing what I would be reading. I just thought to myself, oh, I have a reading and it's going to take me an hour. But once I actually sat down to read, the chapter was 30 pages long and not 10, or the PDF was single-spaced and not double-spaced, and took much longer than I had initially anticipated. That's why it's so important to know what your readings will be so that you can accurately plan them into your schedule. And the best thing you can do is invest some time into this now so that you're set up for the whole semester. Okay, let's create some readings. Okay, and to create a reading task, I just click the regular add task button, and maybe I look at my syllabus and I see that I need to read chapter 3, and my economics course is already selected because I'm in the economics course in the left sidebar. And then I can select the task category and create a new one called read for class. I can change the emoji to a book or something. And the next thing I can select is the reading source, and I don't have any yet. And I know based on my syllabus that I'll be reading from the economics textbook, but I'll also have some single-spaced, double-spaced PDFs. And I want to create these reading sources because one page from each reading source will read at a different speed. As an example, if I'm reading from a textbook, it may take me 7 minutes per page. But if I'm reading a novel, it may take me 2 minutes per page. So I want to enter these in to make sure that when I enter how many pages I need to read, which is also in the syllabus, or you can just go into your textbook and look at the table of contents and see when does chapter 3 starts and ends, and you can put that in, or you can put it in. So you can put it in as a page range or as a total number of pages. If you do a page range, Shovel calculates how many pages you need to read and multiplies it by the time you need for one page. And it will tell you that to get this reading done, you'll need 4 hours and 5 minutes. So now you're not guessing how long a reading may take. You have a pretty accurate estimate based on your reading speed for that particular reading source and the number of pages you need to read. And if you have a reading due in every single class like I did from this reading source, I can just repeat the task. It repeats Monday, Wednesday, Friday every time for my class, and I don't want the task name to be the same, and I don't want the pages to be the same. I set start dates, click next. Shovel finds all of the dates where a reading will be due. Again, you can delete some of the dates if there is no reading, and then you can just put in chapter 4, pages, I don't know, 67 to 79. And you can go through this super quickly and create your reading tasks quite fast inside Shovel. Okay, look how amazing this is. You have one source of truth for everything you'll need to do this semester, and you can slice and dice your tasks in any way you want, and you can even drill in and select multiple tasks at once and be able to adjust them with the click of a button. But Shovel's just getting started, and now it has become a pretty powerful tool because it knows all of your tasks and how long they will take and when you plan to start working on each one. And it also knows when you can study and for how long. So now it's actually able to look into the future with our unique cushion algorithm, and it can tell you if you can get everything done on time or if you need to change your schedule. And this is why many students refer to Shovel as a lifesaver. What you're looking at here is a big zoom out view of your entire semester, and every single dot on this graph is a task, and it's either above or below the 0 line. If it's above the 0 line, It's showing you how much time you can waste between the task start date and the deadline and still get the task done. So in this example, I can waste 3 hours and 23 minutes, that's the green number here, between September 17 and September 20th at 10 a.m. when the task is due, and still be able to get the task done, taking all of the other tasks that overlap with it into account. And just so you know, this red number here, the 1 hour and 50 minutes, that just means that I estimated the task to take me 1 hour and 50 minutes, but I have not planned that into my calendar yet. And if it's below the 0 line, Shovel is showing me that between the task start date and the deadline, I will not have enough time to get this task done. So it's showing me way before I run into trouble that I should change my schedule. So now let's look at the 2 tasks here that I will not have enough time to get done and see what I can change to make sure that I can get those tasks done on time. And just so you know, students typically see 3 big red spikes, 2 for midterms and 1 for finals, because they don't set early enough start dates for their big exams and papers. They just don't take into account that they are all typically due at the same time. But if you see too much stuff in the red, it can be an indication that you're taking too many hard classes or you have too many activities outside of your studies. So the cushion can save your semester by showing you how it is and helping you make the right choices. Okay, let's bring these 2 tasks above the 0 line. There are 2 ways through which I can bump up my cushion time. The first one is I can set a sooner start date for a task so that Shovel can look for additional study time during those additional days. And the second one is I can delete some events from my schedule to create extra study time. Let's look at this midterm exam first. So I can click on it and open it up, and I see that I want to start working on it in 11 days, and that's actually 15 days before the deadline. So let's see what happens if I change this to 20. So I'm adding 5 additional days to study for this exam. And amazing, I will now have enough time to get the task done on time because it's above the 0 line. It's still showing as yellow, which means that I will not have that much time to waste between the task start date and the deadline to get such a big task done, but I definitely have enough study time to be able to study and get the grade I want. You also have one more way to visualize your cushion and see how your tasks overlap, and you can do that by going into the timeline, and here you can see all of your tasks, and the beginning of the task is obviously the start date and the end of the task is the deadline, and you can see how those tasks overlap, and that midterm exam 2 is here, and you can even slide it out to set a sooner start date this way. The next task I will not have enough study time for is this problem set 10. But I know that I have a problem set due every single week, and I'm already starting this one 6 days ahead. So I really can't or don't want to start this task any sooner. It's due on September 13th, so my next option is to go into the calendar, find September 13th, and this is where the task is. So now I need to find something that I can delete from my calendar before the deadline. And I see that I have a big me time here. And one of my options is to maybe reduce it and create extra study time, or even just delete this from this Thursday. And it means on this particular Thursday, I will just have to study and I will not be able to use my me time. And now I can go back into the cushion and see if that created enough study time for me to get the task done. And it did. I don't have much time to waste, but I will have enough time to get the task done if I don't use my me time during that particular day. So if you have a few tasks below the 0 line, these are the 2 ways that you can bump up your tasks above the 0 line. Awesome. So now I hope that you see the power of Shovel and the cushion technology that lets you see into the future and help you be less stressed, because you know that you either have enough time to get something done or you don't, and you can change your schedule way before you run into trouble. And I would go through the same exercise with my last task here, my final research paper. What's also cool though is that you can start experimenting the other way and see how much you can get away with and still get everything done. So now you see that everything is above the 0 line, so you can go into the calendar and start experimenting with what happens if you start making changes. So as an example, let's look at my lunch, and I know I love talking to my friends during lunch, so let's do my lunch to be 1 hour and 30 minutes, instead of just 1 hour. And maybe on Saturdays, I don't want to study at all. I don't want to study at all, so I'll increase my me time, and I'm gonna go back into my charts, see my cushion. Okay, and it looks like everything dropped down a bit, but I could still probably make some adjustments to make everything work. So you can start experimenting with this in your own account. Okay, so now that you know that you'll be able to get everything done, let's look at actually getting it done. Right, so we're back in the calendar, and this is where you'll be spending most of your time day to day and week to week, because that's where work gets done. We're going to be discussing time blocking, which means planning tasks into your calendar. And it's like making a commitment to yourself that you'll work on a specific task at a specific time. From my experience, nothing kills productivity more than sitting down, not knowing what you'll work on, picking something 10 minutes later, and then second guessing the decision, fearing that if you work on this now, you will not have time to finish the other things later. Time blocking eliminates all of that indecisiveness and fear, because every task that's most relevant to you right now will be fully planned. The best time to plan for the week ahead is Sunday night, and then you can tweak things during the week. So first look at your week and make any necessary adjustments. Once you make those adjustments, you can click this Calculate Cushion button at the top, which will show you if those adjustments messed up your ability to get things done. And it looks like all of my tasks still have a green or a yellow cushion, so I can still get everything done. So now it's time to plan. If you have a smaller screen and you're ready to plan, you can close the left sidebar because you will not be creating any new events, and then you can pay full attention to your tasks in the right sidebar. And the first thing you want to do is you want to filter out the tasks that are most relevant to you right now. So if it's Sunday night, the most relevant tasks are the tasks queued this week, and then tasks within start date. This way, I can see the immediate tasks that I'm responsible for completing this week, but also at the end of the list, I see the tasks that are already within my start date. As an example, I can see my big midterm paper that's due in 18 days, but I'm already within its start date. But I'm not seeing the small tasks that are due 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now because they are not relevant to me right now. And this way, I'm not too overwhelmed and my task list is relatively short. Okay, so now that you have a list of your most relevant tasks, it's time to plan when you will work on them and for how long. And we give you a few visual cues, because here you can see how much time is left to plan, and that's calculated based on how much time you estimated for the task and how much of it you maybe have completed already, or how much is still left to plan. So if you planned it into one study block, but you haven't planned it fully, you'll still see how much time is left to plan. So if I grab this 50-minute task and I drop it into an hour-long study block, it becomes fully planned, and I see this planned badge. So now let's look at what happens when I plan this 1 hour and 39-minute task into a 3-hour study block. We actually slide it out all the way until it is fully planned. And as you can see, it's planned here. But maybe I don't want to work on this chapter 9 or read this chapter 9 for that long during this study block, and I make it smaller. Now I still see that I have 50 minutes left to plan, and I can plan it somewhere else into my calendar. You're also seeing that some of the study blocks are showing past due, which means that that study block is past the task's deadline. So I want to put it into the purple study block, and I drop it in, and now the task is fully planned. And my goal here with this list is to make sure that the most relevant tasks are fully planned in my schedule, so I know when I will work on them and for how long. But that's maybe with the exception of this big midterm paper in the end, that I just want to start planning into study blocks throughout the week to make sure that I start making progress on it. I don't have to plan it all at once, but I want to start taking bites out of it. And if I don't want to scroll this big list, I can also look what tasks are due each day, and I can just plan them out of it immediately into the calendar. And that's really how easy it is to plan your tasks into your calendar inside Shovel. Now look what this did for me. It's Sunday night, and I know I'll have enough time to complete every task, and most importantly, I know when exactly I'll get each task done. I know that if I start reading chapter 9 here, I still have enough time to get all of my other tasks done as well. Everything is in the green and I'm ready to go. No guessing, no surprises. I can just follow my plan and get things done. And when it's time to start working on a task, something that will help me initiate it and put my mind to it is opening it up and starting a timer. This way I can eliminate multitasking and focus on this one task at this time. And now let's just reset the timer and let's pretend it's still running. And when it's at the end of the study block, I can just mark this time as used. And now I recorded progress on this task. And when I open it up, I see that I used up 2 hours and I still need 2 hours. And I actually have 2 hours left to plan because I didn't plan it fully before. But maybe 2 hours is not enough. And I realize I'll still need 3 hours. And when I change this, now I still have 3 hours left to plan, which is also reflected in here in the sidebar. But I can also reflect on this experience and realize that I have more essays like this in my history class. And since I'm going to need 5 hours for this one, I can go into my task list, history, my weekly essays, and now select the remaining ones and change the time that I need from 4 hours to 5. And now I can make a more accurate study plan going forward. And the one thing I hated about paper planners and other solutions was that they were not flexible enough for my chaotic student life. Of course, you're going to decide not to work on something even if you planned it. But what makes Shovel unique is that it's so easy to replan it and make adjustments. So for example here, let's pretend that I actually did not use this time for my essay 9. And if the time goes by, then the planned time actually goes back into the task to remind you, hey, you didn't do this, you need to plan it again. If you did it, you can just check it off. But if you didn't, you can just grab the study block and plan it somewhere else. And then you'll see how much time is still left to plan here. And you can just keep planning and making adjustments. So Shovel is very flexible and it works with you, not against you. And now I want to show you how awesome it is to track your progress on your reading tasks inside Shovel. So here I said I would be reading chapter 9 in history, and let's pretend that I read 9 pages during the study block and I marked this time as used. And now Shovel is doing some calculation and it's showing me that my previous time per page estimate for this reading source was 4 minutes and 30 seconds. But today's average, my reading speed was 5 minutes and 26 seconds per page. So it's asking me if I want to use today's average as my new estimate or keep my old estimate. And if I use today's average as my new estimate, all of the reading times for my future readings from that reading source will recalculate so that I always have the most accurate estimates going forward and I can make a much more accurate study plan. And this is so awesome because maybe your estimates are off in the beginning and Shovel can help you correct them. But maybe your materials get much harder and you start reading slower because you need to spend more time on things. So you can make adjustments on the fly with the click of a button. And all of this is the power of Shovel, a tool built for you, the student. Again, you don't have to use every single feature, but Shovel is here for you when you're ready for the next step. So if at first you're only comfortable creating a schedule, you can do it here. Then when you're ready to start creating your tasks, you can do it here. You can start planning them afterwards. Then you can start estimating them. Whatever it is that you're ready for, you can do here. So you don't have to start somewhere else and then start looking for another tool because the other one is not compatible with what you want to do. It's really the tool that I wish I had in school, so I built it for you. We do have an onboarding tour that will help you set things up, and you'll have videos that will guide you every step of the way. And if you have any questions, you can always use the chat button in the bottom right corner. And you also have access to 2 courses. One of them is on how to build a real study plan inside Shovel, and the other one is on how to study effectively. So please do check those courses out as well. Thank you so much for your time. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope to see you inside Shovel.